How do you bet the game tonight? Kyle Scott, crossingbroad.com with the odds, predictions, pick, trends, what you need to know before you lay your money down on the game tonight. Eagles 1-2. Spread is 4. Over-under. Kyle seems to be making a little bit of a movement here before the game tonight. 47 all of a sudden, plus 170 for the Eagles on the money line, 195 if you're going Pack. What's going on, man, so far? This line hasn't moved all that much. 4.5 has been where it's going. How do you feel about the Eagles at plus 4?
I like them better at plus 4 than plus 3. You know, it's ticked up a little bit. About 70% of the bets and the money across both New Jersey and PA and even in Vegas seems to be in most books on the Packers. So it's moved, into that 4.5 range. So if anything, maybe you're getting a little bit of value on the Eagles against the spread. 538 has pegged this line at should be -3 all week. So the money has moved it higher in the Packers' favor, moved it off the all-important 3 number. So, if there's a little bit of value, it is on the Eagles. The Packers have about 5% of the juice on the money line. So, oddly, the Eagles are actually a little bit of a value bet, which is rare because normally they get most of the action, in Jersey and PA for sure.
Yeah, and I was going to say, the fact that it got off it wasn't at 3, it jumped up to 4 because the money's pushing it that way. Is that good news for Eagles fans?
I don't know. I mean, this could be certainly a fade the public situation here. The line's moved away. It gives you, it gets off a 3. There's value on the Eagles. I personally, for the team I root for, whenever I see the money and the line moving away from them, I always feel worse about the game. Like, I felt so good about the Super Bowl when that line, like in the hours before, like Sunday afternoon, the money, they were just becoming a more expensive bet at different numbers. Like, it was moving towards the Eagles, and that gave me a good feeling heading into the Super Bowl. Heading into tonight, I don't like it when it moves away from my team, even if you like to fade the public.
All right, so you got plus 4 pretty much across the board. Every single app looks like it with Fox Bet, FanDuel, Sugar House, DraftKings. Yep. They're all at 4. You got some changes in the money line in the spots, but the over-under total, 46 in some places, 46.5. Right now on DraftKings, as we're having this conversation, it's up to 47. So is there a feel on the over-under?
Yeah, I think we talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago. The Thursday night game over-unders, everyone's like, all right, Thursday, short week, play the under. In September, I think it was like 13 and 13. It is exactly 500. Thursday night games, the over is exactly 500, at least up until last week. So it's really tough. They really get these numbers right. It has ticked up a little bit, like you said. You have a defense that's playing really well in the Packers with, a number of question marks on the offensive side for the Eagles. So I'm still hesitant to jump on it. But that said, with Aaron Rodgers and the Eagles secondary and the lack of pressure, this isn't one of those Thursday night games where I'm like, no, take the under. I could see it either way, and I'm not touching the total in this one. I think it's pretty fairly in place.
Kyle, how much emphasis or focus do you put on the trends and the stats such as these that I'm going to throw out at you? So the Eagles are 1-5 against the spread under Doug Peterson as a road dog, between 3.5 to 7 points. The Eagles, dating back to last season, are 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 September games. And the Packers, on the other hand, correct me if I'm wrong, are undefeated against the spread this year, as well as being undefeated in real life. So what do you put into all of those numbers? Is that concerning? Do you stay away?
So Bob and I were actually who wrote the piece on Crossing Broad, and we have a really good betting preview up there. Bob Wankel on your station a lot. So we were actually just texting back and forth about this. I care less, about really trying to time frame and even a specific team. I like to look at like the situation. To me, I feel like there's more value there because it removes the logo, which ultimately means nothing. There's some consistency with coaches. So, like, for this one, take this. teams that have failed to cover in 3 straight games, the Eagles, that are playing a team that has covered in 3 straight, the Packers, are 12-8-2 against the spread, right? And then road underdogs in this point range are 12-5 against the spread if they fail to cover for 3 straight games. So I put some stock in that, but tonight you turn around and you have a stat that goes directly against it. And in that situation, if a team has failed to cover for 3 straight against a team that has covered, and the team that has failed is on the road, they are 0-4-1 against the spread. So that trend really only holds up if you're the home team. So I like some trends, but tonight's game in particular, the ones you mentioned, those ones I just mentioned, it seems like every one we could come up with, we could find the other side of the coin and almost debunk it. And there's really like no conclusion to pull from that.
Yeah, so one thing that I noticed, for anyone out there that is thinking about betting the Eagles' money line, I always like to look at home or away team winning margins. And I think I've discussed this with you in the past when we bring you on to dive into all this. But Eagles' winning margin, 1 to 6 points. It's plus 385 on the DraftKings Sportsbook mobile app, and that's much higher value than if you would just get them on the money line. What are your thoughts on those type of bets specifically for tonight?
I like them a lot. I mean, I do think they get you. I'm a bettor who, like, sometimes, you know, I'm someone, I see a higher plus number, like plus 300, something like that. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to take that. It gives me more value. It feels like a more likely scenario. And then, you know, what happens, the Eagles come out and win by a touchdown and win by 7 points.
Of course.
You're kicking yourself, right?
Yeah.
So they're enticing, but, you know, the math is the math, and it usually does not work in your favor. But tonight, like, so there's a couple tonight, though, and this is a point I wanted to make. So both for, you know, your listeners in Jersey and you know, anyone who might be in PA as well. So these sports books, we've talked about it, they take a ton of action on the local teams. So with the Eagles being on in prime time, they're like pushing all of their chips to the table with actually useful boost and stuff for tonight. So that's kind of the way I like to play it. Like, if you take the Play Sugar House app, which is available in both states, they're offering the Eagles at plus 10 at even money. Now they're capping that bet at $25, so it's a promo off. But they're giving you real value. Fox Bet's doing the same. If Carson Wentz throws a touchdown, just a touchdown, they'll give you even money on that. Again, these bets are usually capped at $25 and $50, but with the Eagles being on all of the apps, you name it, you pick one, they have all sorts of, you know, crazy and interesting boosts you could use tonight because they know, you know, so there's going to be 1 million plus households in the Philly market on both sides of the river watching the game, and it's like the prime opportunity to get customers. So there's a little value you can capitalize on tonight. So I would take like that Sugar House plus 10 at even money, just, you know, with a few bucks.
Yeah, and I know DraftKings also has some interesting odds boosts that they do. I'll just, you know, I don't expect some sort of depth analysis here, but Wentz to throw 3 or more and the Eagles win, plus 850. You know, so they're giving you the thing to say, hey, just throw $20 on that, and if it hits, it hits. If not, you're out $20. Devontae Adams to score first, and the Packers win at plus 920. And then Eagles to score first and over 45.5, and the Eagles win by 7 or more. Now, that one's a lot, but that's plus 1275. So they're really trying to bait you into kind of just throwing like a 20 down, right? You know?
Absolutely. And usually those odds boosts are there for a reason, and they look enticing, but it's stacked against you. But in this case tonight, all of them they're so fiercely competing with each other, and they know like this is going to be such a heavily bet on game, being a primetime game. There actually is some of that value. I really like that Devontae Adams one, by the way. He's like a daily fantasy staple for me with Aaron Rodgers, and given the Eagles secondary concern, that's one I might hedge some of my Eagles action.
Kyle Scott, crossingbroad.com. By the way, Packers tonight, they're in a 70% spot. Thursday, home favorite in a non-division game, 44-19-5. The home favorite is a 70% winner on the Thursday night football game. You know, obviously, short week. You don't know the team as well. So this is a spot where the Green Bay's in a good spot. So ultimately, Kyle, where do you guys at Crossing Broad? Why is Eagles Green Bay a good bet, and what's the pick?
So on the small unit bets, I'm going to take advantage on the PA side here of all of those little boosters, Eagles plus 10, the Wentz touchdown. Some of those are it's never free money, but they are high probability plays on small bets. The main bet for the game, I'm going to take the Eagles at +4, certainly 4.5 if I can get it. I think that gives you a little extra value than where this should be. This is as close to a do or die game as you can get. And, the one way I like to look at it is the Eagles are maybe like 3 drop passes from potentially being 3-0.
Yep.
This isn't like a team that's gotten their doors blown in and they've overcome some early adversity. They're still more talented than the record would indicate. So if I can get them at like +4, +4.5, that's going to be the main play. But I'm definitely hopping on all of these little offers because some of them are 80+ probability chance of success.
Okay, Kyle Scott, crossingbroad.com. They've got much more on how to bet the Eagles and Packers tonight. Check it out, crossingbroad.com. All right, man, thanks.
Thanks, guys. See ya.